Hello there again, welcome. Come to the second video on the introductory series of microservices from Technology Innovation Hub channel, right? And this is on the microservices portal, so it's going to be the second video on the introductory series, right? Let me share the screen, right? So you may remember last time we had the introduction to software architectural in styles and design patterns and architectural patterns and design patterns, right? So, and I gave the analogy of a house likewise, right? So now let's go to the step 2, API, right? So as I mentioned, so we need to be a little bit familiar with certain very basic terms, right? Terminologies before we start getting to the hands-on with microservices. The very first thing is API. I think most of you know what is an API, but still for a beginner it can be a problem, right? So application program interface. So a very simple example is the communication between two endpoints. Very simple, right? Communication between two endpoints. We can see a practical example. You know most of these, most of you are working in Facebook, not dealing with Facebook, right? So you can see in Facebook Messenger, it's one example. If you take Facebook Messenger, you type a message and it should reach the other end, right? So before it's reaching the other end, you should find where is the other end is, right? Where is the other end? So how are we going to find it, right? It does several API calls, right? From your messenger is one endpoint, right? And as soon as you say send, it will call another API, which is the intermediate one, and it will reach the other end. So connecting two endpoints, right? Very basic, right? Not going to get into more detail, very simple to understand. And the same thing even in LinkedIn, right? So even in web pages, whenever you click it, a lot of calls are happening. So it's a generic one. I mean, API bubble is the outer circle of everything. So within API, we're going to have another subcategories. So that's why the next thing is coming, REST API. REST API. It's a kind of a web specific API, right? So you can see REST, we know what is REST stand for, representation and state transfer API, right? REST API is a web API which uses URLs and HTTP protocol and JSON for the data format. That's true, right? REST calls, right? You know, HTTP calls because REST communications, most of the things happen in via HTTP. You know, the get method, delete method, those things are there. We'll talk most of those things later, but for the time being, the REST API is going to be a subcategory in the global API bubble, this subcategory, right? So it comes under web APIs, right? So what is REST? Representational state transfer. So the word representational state transfer. So state means what the current situation. It's going to transfer, right? Right? That means that it's going to mention the status of some component, right? It will mention the status of some component to another. That's what REST means, right? In microservices, this is very important because I mean most of the communication between the microservices are REST calls. REST calls. So the status will get changed because at the time the current state of the microservice may change the next moment, right? Especially in orchestration environment, containerized environment, the containers are going up and down, spinning up, going down. So likewise, that's why the status of the current microservice will get changed suddenly. It may be not available, may be active, likewise, right? So that's why the discovery server is going to maintain these things. But again, these communications are happening as REST calls, representational state transfer, right? Okay, so it's going to be so status updates like that, right? So yeah, a uniform resource locator is a unique sequence of characters that identifies a logical and physical layer. URI is being used to identify what is the object which is the communication going to take place, right? The first thing to understand API, okay, you can read those things. I'm going to share all of these notes in GitHub, right? So we have the GitHub, so I'll be sharing those things. So in the video link, you're going to have the GitHub link, right? So you can download all these documents from there, no issues, right? And any comments you can put it there, right? And in the future, all the code source are going to be available in the GitHub repository, right? Okay. So while API is yeah, basically set of functions and procedures that allow one application to access the feature of other, REST is an architectural style, okay, for networked application on web. That's why REST is specially dealing with web, right? It is limited to client. Okay, you can read those. REST representational state transfer. Yeah, this is example. You can see we have formatted REST API endpoint, unformatted. If you closely look at, there's a difference between these two URLs, right? First URL is, don't forget about the security, right? Maybe both are not secured, but okay. But just forget about that and just take a look at the URL. So it's catalog, looking in the catalog, looking for item. Maybe this the number is passing. Right? So it's a formatter right away calling this one. But because we are like calling right away this URL. In the browser, you are calling this, right? You're pasting this one. So and it's going to get fetched, right? But this one, we are just passing this one as a parameter. So this, I mean, dynamically in the browser, you can call this particular item as a, I mean, input. You can give this one as an input by using a question mark. Item equal, like as you can say, item equal 102526, whatever the item number. But it's kind of unformatted. It's one of the ways to check whether this particular endpoint is functioning, right? You can use postman and all, but in this method also sometimes you can check, right? So formatted REST API, unformatted. Just make a note of it. Later we come to more details related to this. Right? Right. So features of REST API. So these are features again stateless, right? Interface, scalability, right? Miscellaneous, yeah. Okay, let's just quickly go to this stateless. Not all APIs are stateless. Yeah, REST APIs, in which means that the call request to the API can be made individually independently. Yeah, true. Each call must have all the data necessary to execute the code. Moreover, is due to stateless properties. Self-dependent, no independent. Stateless. You can't depend on another component. Whatever the message should be a comprehensive one. Right? That's what stateless. Okay. Means the call request made individually. Yeah. Hence, the speed of the execution call is handling large number of incoming calls. Right. So, and can be done faster. Okay. So actually the stateless means here it doesn't going to store, right? Store data. That's why. Not going to depend on storing in the data in somewhere. That's why it's caching actually, but not going to depend in somewhere. That's why it's going to maintain whatever the necessary data within that itself whenever the call happens. That's why stateless means. Doesn't matter, the explanation is fine, right? Okay. Interface. Not many APIs can be decoupled the client from the server. The applications and REST API does. Okay. But I am thinking of just leaving this one for later with the practicals, right? You can read, but you can read. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to go line by line here. A part of the REST API, this is scalability URL, part, yeah, R in REST, but more important is scaling state. Okay. The server in the REST is stateless, which means the server doesn't have to store anything. Of course, that's something related to the first one, right? I mentioned that one. Of course, there are small bonus with representational load balancer, and okay, this is about the get call and post method and all. So leave it. You can read that. Just go through it. Don't worry if you don't understand these things. Later, we are going to have a detailed session on each of these with practicals and explanations. So this is for the time being. I just want to introduce you the two terms, right? API and REST API. That's what I think you got the definition. So that is enough for the time being. Okay. All right, let's move to the other one, REST API in action. So now let's see in practically, right? Let's try to create a very basic API, right? Very basic API with just nothing, maybe telling hello, right? Okay. hello with a REST controller, right? Let's try to put a REST controller, and here I'm going to use Spring. My technology or my technology to develop this particular REST API is going to be Spring IO, right? So I'm going to use the Spring Boot, right? In the Spring framework, Spring Boot, one of the modules in Spring framework, right? And I'm going to use Java as the language, right? Okay. So the very first thing is we need to start a Spring project, right? So there are several ways to do it. So, and I'm going to use STS, Spring Tool Suite. You can use IntelliJ as well. So later we will use IntelliJ. But the small practical, I'm going to use Spring Tool Suite, STS, and if anyone doesn't know what is STS is, just you can Google it and you can download. Right? Very easy. Just Google Spring Tool Suite, so it will come, right? So I don't think it's necessary to show it even, but it doesn't matter. Okay. And just go Spring Tool Suite, right? So if you go here, 4.6 is there, right? You can download this, right? Download the 64-bit. For I'm using Windows, either if you can have this one, right? You can download this one, and what is a Java base actually? So Java file. You can just unzip it, right? You can just unzip it. Nothing called installation, right? Yeah, so it's applicable on tools. You can just download the first one. Doesn't matter. For Eclipse is fine. That's okay. It will give you a comprehensive tool, even though it's a Spring Tools or for Eclipse. You can keep Eclipse away. You can download it, and it will give a. Let me show you. I think I had that one. Yeah, let me just show you. Yeah, not there. Suppose let me just check microservices. Yeah, I think Spring. This is the one. This is what is going to get downloaded. Yeah. As I said, it's a Java file, so you can just unzip it, right? And so then it will create this directory. Once you unzip it, you can have it will create this directory. Within that, we are going to have Spring Tool Suite 4. So nothing called installation, just to unzip, right? So then it will be there. Right? Then you can double click this one, it will open the Spring Tool Suite for you, right? So I have a shortcut here, Spring Tool Suite for this icon. Right? So, but the as per the document, what it says, either you can start your Spring project from Tool Suite right away, or you can go to start.spring.io. I think most of you know this one, familiar with this Spring, right? If you want to start with Spring project, you can just go here and paste this Spring initializer, right? So it take you to this Spring initializer. So if you want to start with a Spring Boot project, so either you can use this IO website and create your project and generate the zip file and unzip and open it on whatever your favorite editor, maybe IntelliJ, right? Maybe Spring Boot, or like I said earlier, you can launch STS, Spring Tool Suite. Let me open that one. So the workspace, let it be default. It's going to be your login and the documents, right? So this is where your projects are going to get stored, right? For launch, right? So this is what. So what I was telling, either you can start your project with this, or you can do the same thing from here itself. Because it's the same thing. Because Spring Tool Suite is going to give you the starter for Spring Boot project, right? So you can say File, New, and you can say Spring Starter Project, right? So you can do it like this. Oh, same thing, same like for example, the group name, com is the company, that's the standard convention for naming this project. So, and I can have the artifact and all, we'll do it properly. Either you can just do it here, or you can go here, right? And you do the same thing. You do the same thing. You can see the group artifact, the same thing is here. Okay. So for the time being, let me use this one. Okay, let's do it. So I think doing that there is much easier. But if someone want to like here, So let me do it here, right? So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to start a Maven project, not a Gradle project. We can do Gradle project later because of course now Spring has moved to a Gradle, right? Rather than depending on the form.xml file. We'll talk about that one later, but still Maven is available. So Maven project management, build management tool is Maven. My language is Java, right? And Spring Boot version, let it be the latest, that's fine. And let's give an example company, let's say Technology Innovation Hub, let's say TNH Hello, right? TNH HELLO, right? And artifact name, let's give it again. TNH Hello, right? That's fine. So you're going to have a package com.tnhhello.hello. This automatically takes, that's fine. So leave it those things as it is at the moment. Rest of it, we are going to modify packaging with the jar and Java 11. That's okay, right? So we know the web archive is not necessary in Spring because Spring has the Tomcat web server embedded. So therefore, jar is fine. We'll talk that one later, right? So, and another thing, dependency. This is a Spring dependency because we know Spring is a opinionated framework. We'll talk that one again later because it's going to give a lot of things pre-configured. The developer just have to start coding without worrying about the background configuration and stuff, right? And again, it's less coding with the annotations and all. So that is the pre-configurations are done by these dependencies, right? In the form.xml file, since it's a Maven project, you're going to have these dependencies configured. If it is a Gradle, build.gradle file will have those dependencies in a different way. These two are different, form and Gradle, right? But you're going to use for the time being Maven, right? So therefore, we are going to have our dependencies configured on form.xml file. I'll show you in a while, but let's add a small dependency. Click add the dependency. We'll do a Spring web, yeah, very smaller because we are going to have a very basic API. I'm going to have the REST controller. It's a REST API, right? With a web endpoint. So I can have a URL and I can do some, I can access the endpoint using the URL. So let's do a request mapping as well, right? So therefore, I'm going to use Spring web. So automatically comes here, right? Then that's all generate, within generate, right? So then you will see a zip file is going to be there, right? So let's go into that folder. It's going to get downloaded automatically. And let's unzip it here itself. So you can copy it to the proper place, but that's okay. This is just example I'm doing, right? So we can say 7-zip extract here, right? So now we are going to have this one. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Spring tool suite. I'm going to open it from here, right? Open project from file system, right? Open project from file system because I'm going to open a existing one which is generated through Spring initializer. Earlier I told you I can do the same thing from here, but this time I did it from Spring initializer and I have unzipped it and I'm going to open it. So my directory is under downloads. So let's go to downloads. This is what tnh hello. So I'm going to select that, select. It will automatically load that one, right? So no changes, leave it as old default, right? The very first project will be default. So finishing. So you can see at the right hand side it is loading all the dependencies, right? So here. So it's did fast because we had only one dependency, nothing much, very small project just to start, right? So now you can see tnh hello, our package name, the project name, we gave it like that. So boot will appear to indicate that Spring Boot, right? And you'll see all the subfolders are getting created automatically. And our source, right? Of course, Spring test we're going to have the Spring toolset going to have a test folder separately. I don't get it on IntelliJ, right? So and here source main Java, and we are going. This is our package name, right? And under that, I'm going to have the default Java, right? Like that. So in that you can see Java. So this is our name we gave and import Spring framework. So Spring application. So, and the very first annotation is just to, now this will indicate this is a Spring application, the Spring Boot application. So that will say the compiler, Java compiler, this is an Spring boot application, that annotation, right? So, and public class, okay, so this is default. Let's keep it for a while. By default, it's automatically going to create, right? So for the time being, just make a note to identify it's a Spring application. This annotation will be there by default because we create a Spring project, right? Okay, so now what we're going to do, right? So let's create a small class here because I want to make it a small API, very basic API. So let's use a REST control as well. And let's try to be a little bit closer to that MVC architecture as well, right? Model view controller. So I'm going to have REST controller, right? Okay, let me show you the small code that I'm going to use for this one. That will be easy for you to understand. I think, yeah, I'm going to have this. Let's keep it from a side. So this is a very small code I'm going to use for this particular example, right? So let's put it, right? So now what I'm going to do, very simple. If you take a look at it, I'm going to create an endpoint, no post mapping, only request mapping. We can say get mapping as well, but here is a request mapping. That's fine. That's okay. It's going to expose to all the REST calls. If you say get mapping only, get will be, and that's okay. Keep it right. Let's leave it request mapping, right? So let's keep it as request mapping for the time being, right? Okay. So, and again, first time I'm going to give no name for the endpoint, and there's a, and below if you see there's a name. Let's do it and see. Let's do it and see. So the very first thing is I need to create a class, right? So this you can see there's a class called hello. No? So let's create a class, right? Right click here, right? New and a class, right? So let's give a class hello Spring, right? Let's say hello SP, hello Spring, right? That's it, no changes, just finish, right? Very basic. So the very first thing I need to tell this is a REST. I'm going to have a API, right? REST API. So I'm going to add the annotation REST controller, add, right? REST controller. You can see it's auto completing, but by default it doesn't happen in that way. Auto completion will not work for you if you are doing it for the first time, right? So I think let me show you that one. If auto completion didn't work, right? So what you can do, you can go to window and preferences, right? Window preferences and Java. Under that, we have something called edit. There's editor, right? Editor, and we have content assist. Content assist. So under Java editor content assist, just complete or overrides. That's okay. Leave it as it is. And under enable auto activation, there's an option called auto activation trigger for Java, right? Just enter these lines. I think I have given it here. Here we have it. Yeah, here we go. I'll upload this document. So to enable autocomplete preferences, and you need to enter these things so that it will start auto-completing those things. So this is a known thing, but in Spring Boot, for the very first time if you are using this, will not be enabled, right? So therefore, we have enabled auto-completion, right? And say apply and like this. Okay. So I had already done that. That's why it is coming for me, right? Okay. So that's what I added REST controller. So you can see once I added REST controller, automatically the dependency library gets inserted here, REST controller, right? So which facilitates this annotation, right? Okay, so what's my next thing? Let me just copy this one, right? So I'm have a public class hello SP. So I'm going to do a request mapping. Let's copy this one on it. Open, just type in by very small code, right? So you can just paste this, right? So you can see. So now it's giving a syntax error. Actually, it's a compilation error for this. Why? Because request mapping I need to import. So I copied it now. So let's click here and import request mapping. So you can notice once I click here, automatically another entry will appear here, right? Okay. So request mapping import. You can see the particular library. for the particular annotation, right? So it came up automatically. So now it says request mapping endpoint, because this is my API endpoint, right? So I haven't given any name, right? So just slash only. I am telling public string, right? A string, right? And method public string method, and I'm saying return for the method. I'm going to return hello welcome. That's all. Hello welcome. So this is a very basic API, very basic API, right? So now I'm going to run this one. Let's run this one and see, right? So let's run this one. How to run this one? You can right click on the project, right? Main project over here, right click, and you can say run as. Make sure you're selecting Spring Boot tab, right? Spring Boot tab. Run as Spring Boot tab. So let it run. Yeah, I didn't save that one. That's why it's asking. So let's say OK to save. And yeah, this is the configuration. You can remind me later. And so it automatically runs now. Within seconds now, you can see it is almost done. If you take a look at this output, right? You can see starter and what is the initializing start embedded application kernel root. The important thing is Tomcat. So that is the important thing, because Spring has an embedded web server, Tomcat web server, right? So I just have to call that dependency, starter web dependency. So now Spring is going to automatically run the embedded Tomcat, and it's going to facilitate my web access via the Tomcat server. Now, I didn't give any application properties file or application YML file to configure the port. So therefore, it's using the default port, right? So 8080. So now these endpoints I should be able to access from 8080. So let's try to access and see, right? I'm going to access it. Let's try localhost. You can see hello welcome. That is what appears. That is what I gave here, right? Hello welcome. So that's my endpoint. So my endpoint is nothing but I haven't given any name. So just right under the port you can access it, right? So let's add another method. I'm going to copy this. Right? Copy this. Now you can notice what I'm trying to do. I'm going to give a name, right? Give a name for the not a post mapping actually. So it still is request mapping. So now this time I'm going to give ABC and say hello from ABC, right? ABC. Now let's stop this one, right? And I didn't save, and let's run this one again. Run as web. Okay. Now I should be able to, if I access this endpoint, API endpoint, I should get hello welcome. If I access this point, I should get hello from ABC. Let's see. Right. Now, okay, let's say /ABC. That's my endpoint now. Now it says hello from ABC. Hello from ABC. This one it says hello, and this one it says hello from this one endpoint, API endpoint. So actually what it does, depending on my web call, this is a web call, API call happens, right? Because now this is my, I'm calling, I'm sending a API request, right? So, and it is handled by Spring at the moment. So it's because it has REST controller, right? So it detects it and is responding, it's executing the code on the API. At the moment, there is nothing, just hello. That's all the code I have, right? So with the code, as for the MVC architecture, right? So I'm not telling that much detail because for the time being, in my MVC, I can say this is my view. MVC actually is not a view, but you can say that, right? Because this is a place the user is calling the API, right? View, and there's no model because there's no data here, right? There's no model, but I have a controller, right? So this view is going to hit the controller, REST controller, right? So REST controller, and within that I have mentioned him to do something. So it is just that, it is doing that and is returning, and then I can see the output here, output in the browser. That's all. So very basic REST API, very basic API, right? With REST calls, right? REST calls. Very basic API with REST calls. So okay. Hope is clear, right? So you can try out this one. So very basic for anyone to start with this Spring. So it's a starting point actually, right? So I'll upload this code as well, right? Yeah, so that's what the document explains those things, right? So you can go to the document. The same thing that I explained is available, right? You can see ABC is available. So I'll upload this document so you can try out yourself. All right, so we saw REST API, a basic one in action, right? In action with the Spring Boot using the Spring tool suite, right? The next thing is what are microservices? Okay. Even though we went into the details, still we didn't get the definition of, like, we mentioned software architecture styles, and we say this in the market is there, and these it's in segments and all design patterns and REST APIs and APIs. Still we didn't get the definition for microservices. So now we are coming to it, right? All right, but I think we have again spent around 30 minutes. So I'm going to stop here this video. So I'll meet you soon with the step 3, and we'll have another session for this one, and we get into more practicals, right? All right. Okay, so hope you like the video. So you can subscribe to like and leave any comments in under the video. So I'll upload the documents in GitHub. Okay. Okay. Thanks. Okay. Have a nice day. Bye bye.